Hello everyone, Caren Glasser here from The Passion Point. This is the show where we interview passionistas from around the world who are following their passion and making a living doing what they love. And today we have Ford Saeks with us. He's an entrepreneur since birth when he tried to sell tickets to his kindergarten class for recess. Imagine that. He is now positioned as one of America's top marketing mentors. He's a sales producing, profit generating solutions help people reach success. He built his first business at 16. I want to hear all about that, Ford, because that's got to be pretty incredible and pretty motivational for our teenagers that will be listening to this as well. And is labeled a true entrepreneur. His patented products have sold millions and sell worldwide through retail stores, mail order catalogs, mass merchants, and electronic retails. He took risks, he used his instincts, and figured out what works in a highly competitive marketplace. And so today, he is focused on his company called Prime Concepts, and we're going to be talking about that today as well. So I'd like to introduce Ford to our interview. Come on in, Ford. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me. I'm happy to be here and happy to share some great tips and strategies.
Awesome. That is great because you have quite the journey that you've been on, and I know that people are going to want to hear about what you have to say. We always start our show with a definition of passion. Now, according to Webster's dictionary, it's an intense driving or overmastering feeling or conviction. That's what Webster says. What does Ford say? What's passion?
I would say that that's pretty close. I know that when I first started my first business at 15 years old, I was certainly more passionate than experienced or educated. So I think that if I had to choose, I think that passion's a primary dominant factor in everything. In fact, when I go to hire people for my company, I would rather find passion and enthusiasm. I can teach them the skills, but I can't teach them the passion and the enthusiasm.
That is such a valid point. That is so true. You can't teach it. It's got to come from within. So what is your view on passion, and how has it affected what you have done? I mean, we talked about the fact in kindergarten you were selling tickets. I mean, that's a little unusual. And tell us a little bit about that and how that maybe formulated who you became today.
Well, I think that, passion, underlying power that started when I was in the projects. I moved into the housing projects in North Minneapolis at the age of 12. So at 12 years old, I moved out. I was on my own. I was in foster care. And I went into the projects because I could pay $17 a month for government housing, and I could live. And so I moved into the projects, and after about 3 years of living in the projects and still going to grade school and then junior high, I wanted to figure out a way to make money other than how everybody in my neighborhood was making money. And so I decided what I'd do is I would start a painting company, because when I was in detention centers or in anything that I had to do, it was mainly detention centers, anytime I would swear or cuss, Caren, as punishment, they would make me paint. So I became a good little painter. So that first year, from at age 15, I started a painting company, and I can certainly go into more of those details, but it was the passion to change my life. It was the passion to move away from what I didn't want towards what I did want, and I kind of leaped and grew my wings on the way down. I didn't actually know exactly what I was going to do, but I knew I didn't want what I was doing, and so I was passionate to make a difference, and that's what drove me to make that difference.
So what would be your advice to kids today that are in foster care? And that's something I didn't know about you. And what would you tell young people that find themselves in a situation that you found yourself? Where did you find the strength to pull yourself up? And how do you encourage other youth to do the same thing?
Well, it all starts with a success library. You have to manage what you put in your mind, and what you put in is what you get out. So if you spend your time watching TV or doing things that are destructive or doing things that aren't going to help you, you're not going to actually take advantage of the ideas that come into your presence. So at 15 years old, I was motivated. I didn't have any money. I wanted my life to be different. I wanted the things that other people have, and in order to do that, I had to be willing to do the things that other people wouldn't do. So I went to my friends in shop class, and I made up some flyers that said Saeks Painting and Light Construction. It said light construction because I didn't have any construction experience for town. And finally, after about 2 weeks, I got a voice message on my old reel-to-reel answering machines, which were in the mid-'70s. And so I was all excited. But then, Caren, I thought, holy crap, I don't own a paintbrush. I have nothing. I have no experience. what do I do? So I had a message from someone who wanted me to do the proposal. So I said, I know what I can do. I'll go to the paint store, the local paint store, because they know how to do this. So I went to the paint store, walked up to the counter, talked to the manager and said, sir, I just started this painting company. Could you please help me? He took a look at me and said, get the heck out of here. And I didn't realize it at the time. I had long hair, army jacket, and 9mm. I didn't exactly look like a business owner. He went ahead and gave me all the instructions I needed. He went over to the paint and he grabbed paint and he stuck a brush in it and he started spackling me with paint. So now I've got paint all over me. He gave me a clipboard, a calculator, and instructions, and off I was, Caren, to the house. You still want to hear the rest of the story?
Well, yes, I do actually, because would you say that was your first mentor?
I would say the first mentor was probably a Dennis Waitley tape on the psychology of winning, because that was the first thing that expanded my mind to let go of my past and that things could be different. So that was probably the turning point that motivated me to do that. So when I went to the house, I knocked on the door. I went through the house, and the gentleman was pointing at the ceilings. He says, I want the ceiling fans fixed, the ceilings around the ceiling fans. I want the windows glazed. I want flat base paint here and oil base paint here. And I am way overwhelmed at this point, but I'm writing it all down, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, how can I get the heck out of here? So I took all the notes, and I'm thinking, paint is paint. What's this semi-gloss and eggshell and flat and oil? I knew nothing, but I told him I had to go back to my office to prepare the proposal. Went back to the paint store, told the gentleman what I needed. He helped me calculate all the materials and everything that I would need. Back to the house I went, knocked on the door swings open. This time the man's wife is standing there looking right at me. She takes one look at me and steps right behind her husband. I'm thinking, oh, this isn't going to go well. And I gave her the proposal. I said, here's the proposal to paint the inside of your house. It's $1,025. I need 50% up front and 50% on completion of the job. She took a look at me, took a look at the proposal, and took a look at me and said, do you have any experience? Well, this was a critical point in my business because I had to decide, do I tell them I repainted the whole north wing of the Hennepin County Detention Center, or do I tell them what I told them? What I said is, if you're not 100% satisfied with the job, you don't have to pay. She said, honey, write him a check. And I got that check for $525, which at that time was more than I made in 2 months. I looked at this check, and I said, wow, I'm going to learn how to do this as an entrepreneur. And that actually created the passion to move forward. And that first year in business, I had 3 crews working for me. They were 40 years old, and I generated $35,000 in sales. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot right now, but let me do the math. In equivalence, it's $175,000 worth of income. So at 15, I made $175,000 income. Now the problem is, when you give a kid from the projects $35,000, they spend $36,000, and I had to learn about cash flow and management and some of those other things that came later. But that was what started my business, and that's what got me on the line of entrepreneurship.
Oh gosh, that is a great story. That is a great story. So basically, it's say yes and figure it out later, right?
Well, you know, you still want to do the best you can at making sure that you have a plan or a direction to go. I mean, you don't want to spend your time, you know, running east looking for a sunset. You know, you have to still go in the right direction.
Absolutely. So after you started this paint company and you started to make some real money, where did you go from there?
Well, the painting company lasted for a few years, and then I moved because I was a speed skater in Minnesota, and I was fast enough to be awarded a term at the Olympic Training Center. So a friend of mine, we're going to go out to the Olympic Training Center as resident athletes in 1979, which is a long time ago, I know. So we drove from Minneapolis south to Kansas City. When we got to Kansas City, I was 18 years old. He said, hey, I know a girl in Wichita. You know, we can go down and spend some time there. So we came to Wichita, Kansas. We ran out of money. They boycotted the '80 Olympics, and I stayed. And ever since then, people have always said, why do you live in Wichita, Kansas? And what I would tell them is, as a professional speaker, author, and expert, I travel around the world. So it's a really nice place to come back to. There's no traffic. I can get where I want. The cost of living is good. And, of course, I have my company here with all my employees. So it's really worked out well.
So how did Prime Concepts come about? And tell us a little bit about what it is actually and how did it come about?
Well, Prime Concepts is an integrated marketing company that helps people attract and keep their customers. We do that through integrated marketing campaigns, internet marketing, publicity, all different types of lead magnets and things like that traffic and conversions. But where it came from, I'd have to back up. After the paint company, I had several other companies, and then I was racing bicycles professionally, and I invented a bike rack that goes from floor to ceiling. You've probably seen it on TV. It's been on a lot of shows, and it's just a pole system. When I first came up with that, Caren, people told me it would never sell. I had everybody I showed it to, including so-called marketing experts, who said you'll never sell it because why would someone pay $99 or $189 for something that they can get a hook for 99 cents? Well, $50 million in retail sales later, it was selling quite well. I sold the company. It was a sporting goods company. And after I did that, people would come to me and they would say, how do you sell to Walmart? How do you invent a product? How do you patent a product? How do you get 4,000 dealers? How do you sell to catalogs? How do you do trade shows? So I started that first year after I sold my sporting goods company to realize that I really have another business, and that was teaching people how to do what I had done, and that's where Prime Concepts, that was the foundation of Prime Concepts, and since that time, we've sold millions of dollars worth of products, and we're responsible for over $1 billion in sales for our clients.
So I know you had television shows and all that kind of. So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, I'm exhausted, quite frankly, listening to you right now. But tell us about the television shows that you had and have.
Well, certainly. As an entrepreneur, as a marketer, one of the things you want to do is you want to get more exposure, just like what we're doing today. I'm a guest on your show. Some people, I'm getting exposed to new people who don't know me. Now, in this case, it's an internet show. It's from your website, and it's a Google Hangout, but it's still exposure. So more people get to know me. They get to know my name. Now, I didn't create any fancy giveaway or lead magnet today to say all your listeners can go to primeconcepts.com and get something special. I basically am just here as a guest today to get more exposure and then to help your readers out to give back, because a lot of people over the years have given to me. So I think the key is with the television, the actual broadcast television, it's the same purpose. I identified the market that I wanted to reach. I looked for ways to be visible, because most people believe that they're spending all this time and they're worried about being overexposed, when in reality they're probably obscure and nobody even knows who they are. So I guarantee that even though I've had TV shows and I've been on TV, nobody knows who I am. I'm not a superstar. I'm known in my circles. I'm known in my areas, but not everywhere. So the TV, what that does is it gives me social proof and credibility, so that when I go to sell my speaking engagements, it gives me proof and credibility that they say, yes, this guy's a credible author, expert, and business leader. Let's bring him in.
And you're so right. I mean, that's exactly why I do my shows. I have a couple of shows, and it's internet TV, but it's TV, and we do podcasts and stuff. But I think that business owners, a lot of business owners, miss the boat on this, because they seem to think that they're in their own little circle. It must be the whole world that knows them, even though it's just their own little circle. So I really respect what you just said. I do believe that a lot of people know who you are, Ford, but it is truly that, and I do think that business owners are missing the boat. What do you think about that? Are they missing the boat in marketing themselves like this?
They absolutely are missing their boat, whether they're using Google Hangouts like we're doing and doing a live broadcast, or whether they're doing just YouTube videos. You know, here's the deal. In 2014, like we are now, and almost 2015, there's never been a time in history where anybody with a webcam and a laptop can establish their authority. I mean, look at the TV nowadays. Any show you watch, they're going to say, you know, go to our website and vote. I don't care if it's American Idol or America's Got Talent or Big Brother, whatever the show is, there's always some type of polling interaction. The broadcast medium has changed. It's no longer just the internet or just TV. It's actually merged. A lot of people see it now, but even the TV sets, and you can do all these things. Our broadcast today can get found on a TV set. So it's changing. So business owners today are missing the boat in establishing their footprint. Now, even if they're a local business, I speak to a lot of franchise organizations to help them grow their business. Now, when I work for franchise organizations, most of them are local because it's a franchise, right? They're trying to drive foot traffic into a store or to buy products and services. Well, they still can benefit from leveraging a YouTube channel, leveraging video marketing, leveraging shows, whether it's a how-to show like what we're doing, a tip show, it could be a demo. Doesn't matter what kind of store. I was working with a store in Florida, and I told them you could do a weekly show on grilling. You have 250 products. You could take one product off the shelf and do a show about it. Do a free product, and then or do recipes or cooking or featured this, and they also did. So why aren't you doing before and afters? Why aren't you going on site with a video and talking about the landscape and then showing your before and afters and using those as videos?
Absolutely, and one of the things, absolutely, Ford, and you know, I do a lot of stuff with digital assets and digital footprints as well, and one of the things that we tell business owners is, what are those 10 questions that people always ask you? Go create 10 little videos on YouTube that answer those questions, put them out there and let them work for you rather than you working for them, and when somebody asks you one of those questions, send them over to the videos. It's all about creating that digital asset, because if you're not out there, you're not going to be found. Where do people go to find you right now? I mean, they're going to go to Google, right? They're going to research marketing, and you're going to show up. So if you're not on Google, right? If you're not on the web, you're not going to be found.
Right. I think it's about two things. It's about findability and usability. And when it comes to findability, you know, you talked about creating those top 10 videos and getting them labeled. It's not just to create the videos. I worked with a client this morning. We were just on the phone doing a business accelerator call, and they had a lot of videos. She's an expert, past LGPA. I might have the initials wrong, but from Cindy Miller Golf. You guys can look it up on her. But anyway, I was working with her, and she has all these videos, but none of them have the keywords. So even though she had the content, she didn't title them properly. She didn't put the tags in properly. She didn't distribute them properly. So even though she took all this time to create this video content, keywords drive traffic. So use findability. And if I could just toss in one more note for those people that are hopefully taking notes, because it's, you know, I think it was Ben Franklin or someone said, you know, go get a 10-cent pencil and go write down some $1 million ideas. So if you're taking notes, I would just tell you this, and all your listeners, if you want to get traffic to your website, there's only 3 ways to do it. Just three ways. You can create it, you can borrow it, or you can buy it. Under create it, there's blogging and article marketing and inbound marketing and social media marketing, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Google+, Instagram, whatever, and the new ones that haven't even been invented yet, right? So you can create it by using your content. You can borrow it by finding people who reach the same market you do and sharing content, like I'm doing today with you. You know, I'm going to share this this Google Hangout with my market. You're going to share it with yours. We're going to both share each other. It's work. We spend time together. It's a great deal. So it's borrowing the influence of another person, or you can pay for it. So you can create it, borrow it, or buy it.
I love that. That's awesome. And yes, I mean, I left out the SEO and the keywords, right, and all that. And the other thing that I think people forget is there's no call to action in their videos. So here they are, they have a video, they're talking about whatever it is that they do, and maybe they did keyword, but there's no way to reach them because they didn't put a call to action. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that you've been, you know, a little fly on my wall, because that's the biggest thing that I work with all my clients, is I look at the flow of their marketing messages, and I look for headlines, subheads, magic stories, benefits, features, trial close, social proof, credibility, and all call to action. If they forget everything, they need a headline and a call to action, and so often they forget that call to action. What's their call to action? Now, my call to action for anybody here watching this today would be, you know, go to YouTube and subscribe to my Prime Concept YouTube channel. Follow me on Facebook. You can Google my name. You can easily find out who I am. Obviously, if you were a meeting planner, I'd say hire me to bring me in. But I believe in one single call to action, and that is share something of value. If you found this valuable, share it. I'm sure there's share buttons below. Share this video with other people that you know need to hear this message today.
That's awesome. That's great, and so right on point. I'm glad we agree. So what can you tell somebody as an adult? Let's say I like to call them accidental entrepreneurs, people who have lost their jobs and they find themselves nowhere and they can't find a job because the job market is so bad, and so now they become an entrepreneur because it sounds better than I'm unemployed. What do you tell people who have lost their job, they've lost their way, they don't know what their passion is? What do you tell them, or how do you help them get their mojo back?
I would say a couple things. One, there's no free cheese in the mousetrap. Two, I would say there's no such thing as a money problem, only an idea problem. If you want to earn more money, whether it's through an entrepreneur or going back and getting a job, a regular career, You have to think about how you can add value. Now, I know this would irritate a lot of people because they want to be victims and whiners and say, no, it's the economy, it's my boss was an idiot, or it's not. I got news for you. There's no shortage of success out there. If you have success, Caren, or more success, it doesn't take away from my success. It's not that kind of thing. There's never-ending success. Now, have I had my challenges? Of course I have. I've had 17 different companies. I've never gone bankrupt. 3 of them went multi-million. The rest of them I either sold or let go of because they weren't positive. So my point is, you have to keep going. So what would I tell those people? I would say, quit whining, get off your butt, and make a list of all the things that you like to do. And more importantly, ask yourself this question: what problems do I solve that people are willing to pay to make go away? What are you good at that people are willing to pay for? I mean, I have my pool cleaned, my hot tub cleaned, I have my house cleaned, I have meals cooked for me, I have my car picked up and cleaned, I have my dry cleaning picked up and cleaned, I've got 2 executive assistants. Now, that costs a lot of money. I make good money, don't get me wrong, but I would rather pay them to do that and go read a book and do something where I can add more value. So the question I'd ask is, what problems do you solve that people will pay to make go away? And is what you're doing the highest and best use of your time? So if you're an accidental entrepreneur or you're unemployed and you're looking for something to do, first find something that's lifestyle friendly, that you're passionate about, and then take massive action. And really, that's the 2 things. There's no with YouTube nowadays, Caren, and you know this, there's no shortage of answers. Okay, everything's at our fingertips. This isn't like it was 20 years ago. If I don't know how to do something, go to YouTube and type it in. And it doesn't matter what it is. There's probably going to be some expert like you or me that's put 10 or 15 videos up that in an afternoon you'd get all your questions answered. So how to get here, how to get a career here, how to start a new business, all the information is out there. Now, obviously, you have to sift through it and so forth. And that's one of the reasons where companies like yours excel, because sure, people could learn what you and I are teaching for free, but they'll also pay a premium amount because they don't have to struggle to figure out what worked and what didn't. They can go straight to the experts like us and get the answers.
Great advice. Great advice. I'm all about quotes. I love quotes. I try to find a quote to get my day started, and today on the show I'm gonna tell you one of my favorite quotes, and maybe you have a quote that you'd like to share with our listening and watching audience. Today's quote is, and this was written by Charles Schwab, a person can succeed at almost anything for which they have unlimited enthusiasm. What do you think?
I think that's a great quote. I actually have an app that comes on my phone every day. This one just happens to be called Fit One, and the quote today was, "The difficult is that which can be done immediately, the impossible that which takes a little longer." Now, I didn't know what the quote would be today. I just happened to pull it up and click it. But I encourage everybody to create a success library where they're filling themselves with positive information. Now, I'm not talking about The Secret and manifest. You can read this in The Secret every single day of your life. Nothing's going to change unless you take action. Now, I know a lot of those people on The Secret friends, so I have to be careful what I'm saying. I know a lot of them. But my point is, you still have to take action. So at the end of the day, just ask yourself, how much action did you really take? It's so funny. I work with a lot of people who are in sales, and a lot of speakers even that are in sales. And it's funny because they always call me, how do you get more speaking engagements? How do you get more bookings? How do you do this? And I always ask them, how much time are you spending eye to eye, face to face, toe to toe with your prospects? Are you sending out emails? Are you doing calling? Are you on LinkedIn? Are you prospecting? And most of them aren't doing anything. They're just sitting back waiting for the phone to ring. And I think that most people, including me, are delusional about how much time they really spend marketing. And unfortunately, everybody's involved in marketing. I don't care if you have 100 people in your company, 100 people involved in marketing. So that's my 2 cents would be, I don't have a particular quote other than to make sure that you're listening, watching, or reading something that interests you on your topic or desires every day, even if it's 15 minutes. Spend 15 minutes, listen to something in the car on the way to work. I mean, I use Audible. I have a whole list of books. I've got a success library, and that's just my current one. So I always make sure that I have 2 books with me on the road. One, the book I'm reading, and one, the book I'm writing.
I love that. Okay, so that was my next question. Can you give us two of your favorite books that you believe everyone should have on their shelf?
Well, it really depends on the topic area. So I'm going to name a few and then tell you. if you have a problem with prosperity, if any time that Caren or I have talked about money or amounts, and you have belief systems about money, all the how-to books in the world aren't going to help you. You got to get your prosperity fixed first. I would obviously recommend anything by Randy Gage, partly because I'm the publisher and I publish all of his products, but partly because they are really good products to help you as a critical thinker to think differently. Even if you don't agree with everything he says, it's certainly a way to get you to think differently. So anybody on prosperity, there's a million gurus out there, people that can help you. I'd say prosperity first. And then I would say there's a great book by Darren Hardy, a friend of mine, called The Compound Effect. It's a great book.
Awesome book, yes.
Yep. It's a great book. Obviously the old greats, I've got Napoleon Hill's Law of Success, which is an old book from the 50s. I mean, it's the same things regurgitated. So for those of you experts who, I just got to do a side note. I was at this event last weekend in Orlando, and there were all these 20-something entrepreneurs in the room, 20 to 25. There was a couple 30-year-olds, and here I am. I'm 53. I'm an old fart. And so I'm watching these guys talk about marketing. They're going, yeah, I did this thing. It's called split testing, where you do one headline, you do another. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm an old direct response mail guy. I used to mail 1 million pieces a month. They think that they've reinvented direct mail because it's the internet. And the point I'm making is there's really no new information out there. It's really your story on it. So it's the same with you as a business. A lot of businesses, they think they're a commodity, but they're not. I don't care if it's insurance, real estate, dentistry. You still have to have a unique selling proposition, something that makes you stand out from the competition.
And I also believe that you have to create that relationship. People are not going to buy from you if they don't have a relationship. They don't know, like, and trust you. It's that old cliche saying, but they have to get to know you. Have you read Jeff Olson's The Slight Edge?
No, I haven't read that book. I will write that one for to add it to my library.
Yeah, that's actually talking about going towards your goals in short, incremental steps. It's a great book, and a great one for the library and a great one for our listeners as well. I have one more question for you, Ford. We could go on for hours. I'm fascinated just by what you're talking about, and I so totally agree with what you're saying. The question is this: if you could spread passion dust on anyone and anywhere in the world, who would you spread it on, and what would you hope to accomplish?
I would probably say two things, and again, this is the question that I would normally answer, so it's not like the questions I always get. I would probably say that America's youth, that I don't think that they understand the potential that they have available to them, not only through technology. I mean, if you look at the YouTube stars right now, I mean, a lot of them are young, and because they just they've never been a time in history where you could reach as many people and create a platform. It has good and it has bad, as we've seen in the media. So I would probably say America's youth to design their life, and as far as what would you do with it, I would say make sure you're a steward of money. That's probably the biggest mistake that I made over the years. I've made millions of dollars. I've invented products, and as an entrepreneur, most entrepreneurs that I know that have made that kind of money, they don't hang on to it because they know they can make the money so quickly again. So rather than putting $10,000 a month away or whatever it is, I know that I can go do something and make that in a weekend. So I would say look at your finances and make sure that you really plan for the future more effectively. That's just my theme of the day is start where you are with what you have and get rid of the excuses. Don't compare yourself to anybody else. It doesn't matter what success anybody else has had or didn't have. It's what are you going to do?
Great. Thank you so much. Those are just so much information. I know that our listeners are going to want to reach out to you, Ford. So I know you said you weren't going to give us any links, but I'm going to ask you right now, how can people reach out to you? What is your call to action? How can they reach you?
Well, they can visit me at primeconcepts.com. They can look at me at profitrichresults.com. Those are probably the two biggest places. At primeconcepts.com, there's great videos. Or go to YouTube and just type my name in. The only difference is you've got to spell it like it says on the overlay there, S-A-E-K-S, and you'll find me, and you'll find lots of resources and books. There's books on Amazon you can go to on different topics. I would just say, if you've liked what you've seen today, post something on Facebook, post your comments, post your thoughts, good, better, and different. I don't care if you disagree. I'm not afraid to ruffle the feathers. This isn't a popularity contest where I want everybody to love me. Yeah, I want people to like me. But if you don't, I'm okay with that too.
Well, I want to thank you so much for being on the show today. So much value and so much content. And I know that our listeners and our viewers have a lot of choices as to how they spend their time. I want to thank you so much for spending your time with us today. And as always, we'll see you next time on the next episode of The Passion Point. Goodbye, everyone.